Hi everybody and welcome to another R. Stuart & Co. virtual tasting. Joe Stuart here with my dad, Rob Stuart, to talk about our Wine Club shipments that are going to be coming out in just a few weeks. It's late February when we're filming this. The shipments are going to be going out in about mid-March. And we've got some terrific wines coming up in the first round of shipments for 2021. Today we're going to be talking about our Classic Club, which is the original R. Stuart & Co. Wine Club. And if you want to get the full array of everything that R. Stuart & Co. has to offer and taste all different styles of our wines, the Classic Club is for you. Today we're going to check out a few different wines. The 18 Love Oregon White Sky, 18 Love Oregon Pinot Noir, the 2016 Menefee Pinot Noir, and of course the award-winning Rosé d'Or. So Dad, taking a look at the White Sky, this is one that you would say is probably the most fruit-forward of a lot of your wines.
It is. The idea behind this wine was to make something that you might find in either Alsace or maybe in the Rhone Valley. And the composition is actually 86% Pinot Gris. It's 8 or 9% Viognier, and then it has a smattering of Pinot Blanc and Chardonnay in there. And it was not just a thrown together one. It was very intentionally made to have really outwardly fruity aromatics. And that's where the Viognier comes into play. But it has the acidity that you get from a really good Pinot Gris. This is the 2018 vintage. And the Chardonnay and the Pinot Blanc also add components more. We added those to bring in the acidity even more, to accentuate the Gris acidity. Viognier tends to be low in acid, but very fruity and aromatic. So that was the intention of the wine. We taste this, you get that perfume.
Yeah, right off the top.
Very different than the Pinot Gris.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Viognier. So the Viognier, just to be clear, this is the one wine that we step out of our own appellation of the Willamette Valley, and we go down to the Rogue Valley for the Viognier that's in this. We have some good friends that we've known since the 80s down there. That's where this comes from. So you see, Joe, that this comes off very fruity in the nose, but actually the palate, it's a little, I don't want to say, it's a little bit astringent, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And it finishes very clean, and that's that acid again. So the perception is when you smell it, it's going to be a sweet wine, but it really isn't. And yet, it is.
Yeah, you definitely do get that again towards the finish, that sweetness coming in again.
Mm-hmm. And I notice after this, I've swallowed the wine, I get the feeling like I just ate a really beautiful ripe peach in the summertime. You know, it has that.
And it is a very summery wine. You know, it's for those backyard lunches and late evening glasses of wine with friends as the Oregon sunset is going down, or wherever you are.
Absolutely.
But yeah, really just a beautiful wine. And a lot of the Love Oregon, as we move to the 18 Love Oregon Pinot Noir, they're beloved. People love these wines. That isn't the reason for the name, but people have really, ever since the Love Oregon wines have started to be released, they've been big successes and very big time crowd pleasers.
Well, what's going on here is we wanted to take a little step up from our Big Fire wines and make these wines a little more serious. They are, particularly the Love Oregon Pinot Noir, which we're about to talk about, it's not as, if you will, quaffable as the Big Fire, but it's definitely, just by smelling the wine right off the bat, that there's some reserve wine in here. Now, what makes this 2018 interesting is I had to look back on my notes a little bit because I was just thinking, okay, what really did go in there? I knew there was a lot of Daffodil Hill, which is the vineyard that we purchased with some dear friends in the 2018 vintage. But it's about 70, almost 80% Daffodil Hill. Now, these are some of the younger blocks. They're not where our single vineyard designated Daffodil Hill comes from, but it's a great vineyard. And so it's that percentage. There's some Hershey, which is another one of our reserve vineyards. But you get a lot of seriousness out of this, but it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So you see, it's a richer middle palate than the Big Fire. It's got that sort of black cherry and herbal component and an earthy component, and then the red cherry from Hershey. A little bit of I want to say spicy herb from the Lazy River.
Just a hint, just a hint of a kick in there.
Yeah. So this
but a very smooth finish.
Well, that's the whole idea. Our style is to not overtly. These are all not the Viognier, but the red wines are aged in French oak, but it's not a lot of new oak. It doesn't taste like you put Jack Daniels in the Pinot Noir. It's the fruit. It's the vineyard aged gently, slowly, and
a little oak goes a long way.
Little oak goes a long way. Yeah.
So the 16 Menefee. This is actually one of our reserve wines from Menefee Vineyards, and it is actually also going to be in the Reserve Club and the Red Wine Club. So you'll get a lot of access if you're a club member to the Menefee from 2016. And really a beautiful wine.
So, of all the reserve vineyards we work with, this one stands out on its own. I don't know if you could see this, but if you have the wine, you can see it's a lot lighter in color. It's actually grown in the southeast-facing slope of the coastal range, so it's in the Willamette Valley, but on the western edge. And so it's a little bit higher, a little bit cooler, and the morning sun plays more of an important factor than the afternoon and the evening sun. And you get this. I've never seen it anywhere else, Joe. I get blueberry. I've never.
Blueberry.
And if you've ever been to Maine in the summertime and you picked wild blueberries, that's the smell I get. That and blackberries, which grow everywhere in Oregon. The most noticeable thing when this is on your palate, you have the entry onto your mouth, but then there's like silk going across your tongue. It's just very silky. It's not big, but it's elegant. And then it finishes with decent acidity because it's in this slightly higher, slightly cooler, southeast-facing slope.
It's subtle, you know. For a red, it's very subtle, and I think that's one of the great things about it. But what have you seen? I mean, this is compared to some of the other wines we're talking about today. You've had more time with the Menefee. Have you seen much of a difference from when it first released to now, a couple years later?
I would say that it's more integrated, like any of our wines, but especially noticeable in red wines and our red wines. So that everything comes together so that from beginning to end there are no holes. There's just it's not a donut with a hole in the middle. It doesn't enter and dive in and out. It's just like so smooth all across the palate. 2016 was an interesting vintage in that it was a little bit lighter of a crop, but we had a decent summer but not too hot. It was just, imagine a smaller crop, so less demand on the vines, some more concentration of fruit. So I see these wines 2016 like 2012 and like 2008. They all have a lot of fruit in the middle palate. And yet it wasn't so hot that we had lovely, lovely classic Oregon summer nights where, 50, 55 degrees, and that keeps the acidity up. That's just what it accentuates the aromatics, gives you this nice round middle palate.
Well, I'd also say this has got to be a pretty good wine for pairing as well.
Absolutely. I could see this more of a kebab wine.
Mm-hmm. Some lamb, maybe.
Some lamb would be
or
awesome.
Pork.
Mm-hmm. But something that is, you're not blasting it with spices necessarily. You're letting whatever protein you're cooking be the main flavor. This wine will integrate well with that.
Yeah. All right, so moving to the Rosé d'Or. This is one of your most critically acclaimed wines, and it deserves to be so. I mean, it is a absolutely beautiful sparkling wine. Where did you first get the inspiration for this style?
Well, many years ago, one of my first mentor, Yazdemir Milkovic, in England, introduced me to this wine when I knew nothing about wine. I was 17 years old, and he poured me a 61 Bollinger, and it turns out that was a fantastic vintage. And I've always wanted to make 61 Bollinger, and I never will, but I want to keep trying. And what sets this wine apart from, I want to say, just about any other sparkling wine in Oregon is this is a cuvee that goes back to 1999. I started making this wine when we were at Erath, and then carried on making the wine. We've been in business for 20 years, so it goes a long time. And so what you have is old wine and new wine, and every year we blend some of the old wine that we keep in a Solera system, which is just a mixture of all the vintages since we started, and the new vintage. And the idea is that every year we're consistent in style, but we keep notching up just slightly. So when you smell this wine, you get some of that age in the nose, but you get some honey and some spice, some barrel maybe, because there's this, the Solera sits in old French oak barrels. But you get some of the yeastiness that's from storing the lees and then being on the lees. Now this wine is a 1999 through 2014, and it was sat in the bottle on the lees, on the yeast, until October of 2020, and then it was riddled and disgorged. So you can see there's a lot going on in how this is made. It's got that creaminess that comes from stirring the lees. It's interesting. I have one of my favorite dishes, and it's a very simple one, but Maria makes it's pasta with garlic, shrimp, and some red pepper flakes, and that's about it. And it's just amazing with that. Yeah. I've also been told it's great from an English person that it's great with grilled smelt. Now, I've never had it with grilled smelt, but
I've never even had grilled smelt in the first place.
But I guess the point is grilled fish, savory, oily fish would be great. It's great with grilled salmon, very simply grilled salmon.
And if you've got a celebration coming up, you're definitely going to want to get a bottle of this. Perfect for any kinds of birthdays or really anything. You know, it's almost an excuse to celebrate in itself. It's just drinking the Rosé d'Or.
Absolutely.
So again, this is all these selections are coming in our first shipment of the Classic Club for this year. And again, the Classic Club will get you a wide variety of the different R. Stuart & Co. wines and styles. And it's really great if you're first getting to know our wines, or if you want to be kind of re-inspired. If you're looking for something from our library that is going to be new to you and something that you like to integrate into your dishes and onto your table for the forthcoming years.
So what I'd like to point out is it doesn't matter what club you're in, but with the fact that you're in that club allows you to buy any of our wines at your discount rate, and so you can buy. The Menefee gives you a taste of our reserve wines. The Love Oregon Pinot Noir gives you a taste of our Love Oregon wines. The Rosé d'Or, we call them part of our specialty wines. You can, by being in the club, have access to all these wines. The shipment is just to give you a taste to see what we can do. And you can always, what about our website, Joe?
You can find out more about all these wines and all of our wine club options at ourstuartandco.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with another virtual tasting soon.
Thank you.